We are live. Welcome, guys, back to another edition of the Earle Sports Bet Show. I'm Timothy Earle, and today it might be a little bit of a shorter show, and it's I want basically today. I just wanted to look at the college football rankings again after they released the bracket again, because there were some teams that are back in, some teams that are missed, all that stuff. Like some replacement teams from after last week. So we will go ahead and mention all of those before we jump into it. If you guys are new to the channel, make sure guys you like, comment, subscribe, share, do all that good stuff. Appreciate all the support. If you guys have any questions about any games going on today, leave them in the comments, and I will get to them. I will talk to about any games that you guys want to talk about throughout the entire show. That will not stop, but I wanted to kind of today's show will be a college football playoff update bracket, just to kind of look at it, look at some percentages on stuff, and we can go from there. We will say hi on to Mr. Untouchable. Welcome, and great call on the Capitals. Yes, Capitals were a nice plus 140 last night. I cashed on two nice dogs in the NHL. The other one was the Sharks in overtime, so that was nice. But I know that this show will probably be a little bit shorter. Oh, real quick, because they are scrolling across the bottom. Free picks today. Hawaii, team total over 97.5 in college basketball. They're against Mississippi Valley State. I also gave out the Bulls on the money line and Nikola Jokic triple-double. Those are the free picks for today. All the rest of them are up on the site. So if you guys are interested in that, check out the picksandparleys.net website or become a member of the YouTube channel. You guys can get all the plays every single day. Let's go and look into this one. No changes to the top five. Top five have stayed the same. Ohio State, Indiana, Texas A&M, Alabama, Georgia. All of them remain where they are. It makes sense that they remain where they are. Ohio State still undefeated. So until they lose, I really don't see them moving at all. Indiana, same deal. And Indiana, I'm surprised. I'm surprised Indiana is there, because if I was the placement after last week, I just saw Indiana have a very close game against Penn State as a 14-point favorite. They win by 3. Granted, yes, it was on the road, but Penn State is not as good as we thought they were. And then you look at Texas A&M, who came off a road win at a ranked Missouri team by 21 points. And you're telling me that Indiana should stay there? I don't think they should have. This is for me, that's more of, I would personally have it as Ohio State, A&M, Indiana. At the end of the day, it really doesn't matter at the moment right now. Alabama remains at number 4 with their win. They had a win over LSU 20-9. Big game for them coming up against number 11 Oklahoma, which we will not talk about Oklahoma. Well, I'll mention them today because they are 11th in the power rankings, in the college football rankings. But with conference champions and stuff, that's where things get moved around. So it makes sense that those teams stay the top 4. I believe that those are the top 4 teams. Alabama, the only one with a loss, and their one loss was to they beat Georgia. Alabama's one loss was to Florida State week 1. So honestly, it makes sense that they're number 4 and Georgia's number 5 because Alabama beat Georgia. Georgia coming into the after winning 41-21 at Mississippi State, a game that they should have won. Big game coming up this weekend for them because they get a number 10 Texas, and then they play Charlotte, and then they play Georgia Tech, who is ranked 16th. So a little bit of a tougher schedule for Georgia, but I do think that they'll be just fine. I feel like the top 5 teams in this one are pretty much in, barring maybe if Georgia loses to both Texas and Georgia Tech, maybe you're taking them out. Alabama, I just don't see losing. I mean, they have a game against Oklahoma. Even if a 2-loss Alabama, I think still still is alive for the college football playoff. Texas A&M, it would take they get Texas at the end of the year. Yeah, Texas, but they got South Carolina and Samford. Realistically, they should not be losing those games, so they should be 11-0 going into Texas. Texas A&M very well could be undefeated going into the SEC championship game. Number 6 in the college football rankings is Texas Tech, and I really like that. You have a Texas Tech team that just came in off of beating BYU 29-7. I'm going to say that was probably the biggest win of the week. Goes to Texas Tech, because all of a sudden you get BYU, who was, they were sitting, what, 6th, 7th? I think BYU was sitting 7th in the rankings, and they have dropped 5 spots to number 12, so they would be currently on the outside looking in. That being said, I think BYU definitely has the opportunity to climb back in. Games against TCU, Cincinnati, and UCF. Cincinnati is ranked, so win at Cincinnati. As long as they run the table, they should be good and in, just because some of these teams will play against each other. But I like Texas Tech. I personally have futures on them. They obviously should be the team that's – I strongly believe that they're going to end up getting into the college football playoff. I wonder if we have college football playoff betting odds. Let me just quickly check on that. Futures? Playoff. College football playoff. Yeah, Georgia, Alabama, Ole Miss, all minus 2,000. That's crazy that – huh? Oh, they don't – they're all minus 2,000 because Indiana, Texas A&M, Ohio State all don't have odds, because they're pretty much locked in at this point. Alabama, Georgia should be getting in. Obviously, they're minus 2,000. Ole Miss, same deal. They're 7th. They're minus 2,000. Texas Tech, minus 1,200. Oregon, minus 400. And Notre Dame, minus 380. Some interesting numbers to look at. You've got South Florida, plus 125. If you think that they're going to run the table, win the American, they should get in. Georgia Tech, if you think they make it through the ACC tournament. The fact that Georgia Tech is plus 190 and Miami is sitting at plus 400, I don't think Miami stays in that spot, which we'll end up looking into them in a minute. But you've got some interesting value plays. Like I feel like I would want to take South Florida plus 125 to make the college football playoff. I think that number is kind of nice. I kind of want to take Vanderbilt. I feel like that could be an interesting number. I don't think Duke's in there still. I don't think Duke gets in there. Memphis is still 25-1, but I don't really see them getting in. Interesting odds on some of these, though. Real quick, Untouchable saying, thoughts on UMass spread and Toledo? I want nothing. I'll be honest, I didn't bet anything in college football today. If anything, I was looking towards a team total under for UMass, but I did not. I did not bet anything in college football today. I will say that. But Ole Miss, we mentioned them earlier. I feel like they're pretty much penciled in. They get Florida and Mississippi State. They should not be losing those games. Now, Ole Miss probably won't make the SEC championship game, just based off of Texas A&M being undefeated and Alabama being an undefeated SEC. Well, not undefeated. They're undefeated in SEC play. So you got two teams that are undefeated in SEC play. Ole Miss loses to Georgia. Georgia loses to Bama. So you've got a little bit of weirdness with that. They would need a bunch of losses to go down in order to make the SEC championship game. I feel like Ole Miss will probably host a playoff game, but I don't think they're going to be eligible for a bye. I don't think they're getting a bye at all. Oregon, I can see Oregon missing completely. They're number 8. Just rather unimpressed with what they've been doing this year. They barely beat Penn State by 6. They lose by double digits to Indiana at home. They win by 14 against Wisconsin, who's not been doing anything. They win by 2 versus Iowa. Like, this is not an Oregon Ducks team that I really think is going – I would take them to miss the playoff. Because I just don't think that they're good enough. And what is the odds on that? Louisville, James Madison, Tulane. We want to look towards Oregon. Oregon to miss the playoffs at plus 310. I feel like that's something I want to take. I'm going to go ahead and play some futures for college football. College football futures. And that's going to be Oregon to miss the playoff at plus 310. And then I'm going to take South Florida to make the playoff at plus 125. Vanderbilt plus 350 is interesting, but unfortunately that loss. BYU should be fine because they're going to end up making the conference championship game. If I think Oregon gets bounced, I'm going to take BYU to make the CFP plus 350. Let's do those three. So Oregon to miss, South Florida to make, BYU to make, and those are all some nice plus monies for you guys. Then we go to Notre Dame, which Notre Dame, once again, if they win out, they're in. They lose the first 2 weeks to Miami, who is currently sitting in a playoff spot, and Texas A&M, who's undefeated. And they have a ranked win against USC. They get Pittsburgh this weekend. If they can take care of Pitt, they should walk right through Syracuse and Stanford. That shouldn't be a problem for them. I believe they're pretty heavy favorites to make the college football playoff. They're minus 380 to make the playoff. So, yeah, they very well should. I don't see them losing a game. I don't think they're going to get a bye just because 10-2, I don't think it's going to be good enough, especially when you got conference champions and stuff like that. So I think Notre Dame will make it, but I don't think they'll. They might host a playoff game. They will not get a bye. Next up is Texas. Texas is back up at number 10 after, and they've lost to Ohio State this year, and they lost to Florida, which was a weird loss. Since then, wins against Oklahoma, a struggle win versus Kentucky, a struggle win versus Mississippi State, a struggle win versus Vanderbilt. Now they go up against Georgia, which they're 6.5-point dogs, which really makes me not like Texas to make the playoff. To make the playoff is plus 190, yes. It would take them, I feel like if they beat Georgia, they get Texas A&M in the last week. They're not going to make they possibly could make the SEC championship game, but they would obviously have to win the last 3 games. And that would give Texas A&M a loss. I think that would end up knocking them out if Alabama goes undefeated, and Texas A&M would have the tiebreaker. So Texas A&M could still technically win the SEC. I'm not going to hold my breath on that one. That's just not a team I'm going to trust to do so. But Texas currently number 10. I think they can make it, but they're already got 2 losses, so we'll see. Number 11 in the rankings is Oklahoma. Number 11 in the college football playoff bracket is Miami. Why is Miami in there? Miami's currently 15th, but they are the projected ACC champion. And because they're ranked higher than South Florida and James Madison, Miami would get in. Now, I don't know if Miami necessarily gets there. They get NC State this weekend, which we'll see. They get at Virginia Tech, which, once again, that's a tough atmosphere. And then they go at Pittsburgh. I see at least one more loss for this Miami team. And if Miami loses, with Louisville losing, with Duke losing, that's going to create a big what if with the ACC. Georgia Tech would be the team that could possibly step in. They get Boston College, Pitt, and Georgia. I feel like they would have to beat Georgia. And obviously winning against Pitt. Georgia's next going to have to win the ACC championship game. Their one loss came to NC State. So although they're still 5-1, there's four teams tied at 5-1. And if you're the ACC, you want either Virginia, Georgia Tech, or Pittsburgh. Because if SMU or Duke makes it in, that's not going to get a playoff spot at 10-3 or 8-4 or 9-4. You're not going to get a playoff spot that way. So ACC got to be rooting for that. So Miami in right now. I personally don't think Miami stays, but that's just me. And then the final one, I just took them to make the college football playoff at plus 125, South Florida. South Florida should be able to get through. Their toughest game, they did lose their tough game. They go to Navy this week. They're at Navy, they at UAB, and they're versus Rice. If they lose another game, all of a sudden this gets really weird. If they lose another game, obviously, if they lose to Navy this weekend, all of a sudden Navy's back up in the spot because they're 6-1 in conference, they're 8-2 overall, and all of a sudden Navy could be an interesting team to make the college football playoff. But South Florida, if they lose, I feel like that dropped them out. Tulane loses, that drops them out. North Texas is 8-1 still, so if you're that could be a possible team that gets in. I just don't see South Florida losing. That's the big thing there. And obviously, if South Florida beats Navy, drops Navy out. Then you look at Tulane, who has FAU, Temple, and Charlotte. They should theoretically win out. So all of a sudden, you're looking at South Florida and Tulane. North Texas gets UAB, Rice, and Temple. It's not really that difficult of a schedule. And then the other only one-loss team in the American is ECU. They get Memphis, UTSA, and FAU, the last two on the road. It would take a miracle for ECU to make the conference championship game. In theory, it should be South Florida and Tulane. I don't see North Texas. Obviously, with the tiebreakers and stuff, it looks like South Florida and Tulane. And I think South Florida is the best team in the conference at the moment. So that's why I took South Florida to make the college football playoff plus 125. And I took Oregon to miss at plus 310, and I took BYU to make at plus 350. Now, that is the college football update for this week. I know kind of ran through that one. I enjoyed looking at that type of stuff, looking to see what the odds are on some of these teams to make the college football playoff and go from there. So if you guys are interested in that, I will be doing this again next week, looking at the college football rankings just to try to get a new sense of what happened the week before and go from there. And there was one other thing I want to mention before I left. I think it was college basketball related. College sports. I thought we were getting college. Where's college basketball? College sports. Oh, NCAA. We got it. We're good. That's women's. I don't want women's. I want men's. That's annoying. Can I? There we go. Because I know there was another D2 school winning. And I wanted to mention them because we talked about them. We talked about a couple of D2 schools that won. I believe it was an ugly game. That was for sure. Shout out to Delaware that was beating BYU at halftime yesterday. Obviously didn't hold on, but they definitely put up a fight. Shout out to LIU over Air Force. That was kind of fun to see. And where was that game that it was a weird one. A small D2 school won yesterday. I swear I saw one win. I Might be just going. I'm not going crazy. Shout out to Buffalo winning outright as a 19.5-point dog. I had DePaul first half under. That was nice. I guess I'm just going crazy. I swear there was a D2 school that won yesterday. Huh. Anyways, shout out to Central Connecticut State outright win in Boston College. That is absolutely hilarious to see. Shout out to Davidson for beating Charlotte, because fuck Charlotte. But yeah, no, that should wrap it up for today's show. And I will be back again tomorrow. We'll find something fun to talk about in terms of sports world. And we'll go from there. Shout out to Gonzaga whooping up on Creighton. That was interesting to see. And it's confirmed that Duke hates America because they win by 55 on the road. Anyways, I'll see you guys tomorrow with another edition of the Earle Sports Bet Show. Check out all the premium plays over on the picksandparleys.net website. See you guys later.